I'm not sure what stranger getting packages you never ordered, or realizing every single one of them feels like it came from someone who knows you better than your own friends. And trust me, it took me way too long to figure out what was actually going on. So let me tell you the whole story, because it turned into one of the most confusing, wholesome, and honestly embarrassing situations I've ever been in. It all started with this small cardboard box sitting on my doorstep on a Wednesday morning. No branding, no shiny tape, no, hey, this is from Amazon, just a plain little box, like something your grandma would use to store old photos. The label had my name, my address, but the return address? A warehouse 2 states away that I'd never heard of. At first, I thought I'd ordered something half asleep at 3 a.m. again, which, look, it happens. But when I opened it, I froze. It was a book. Not just any book, my favorite book from childhood. I'm talking dog-eared pages, weird cover art, that old classic I used to reread every summer, the exact edition I lost when I moved out for college. On top was a little sticky note that simply said, "I think you'll like this." No signature, no smiley face, no from a secret admirer, nothing. Now you might think, cool, free book. But that's not where my brain went. My brain went straight to, who in the world knows this about me? My family doesn't, my coworkers don't, my friends definitely don't. I'm not exactly the overshares about childhood books type, but I was running late for work, so I shoved the book onto my table and told myself it was some weird marketing stunt. I didn't fully buy that, but it was easier than thinking someone out there knew enough about me to pick that book. Everything was normal until 2 days later, when package number 2 showed up. Same box, same warehouse return address, same handwriting on the note, except this time, the gift was, honestly, kind of perfect. It was a small wooden keychain shaped like a camera, something I used to collect in high school when I was obsessed with photography. I haven't mentioned that hobby in years. I don't post about it, I don't talk about it. It's like a forgotten part of my personality. And the note this time said, "Thought you might want this again, okay." Now it was creepy. Not horror movie creepy, but why does a stranger know my life? Creepy. I texted my mom. I texted my brother. I even texted a guy I used to date who once bought me a camera strap in 2019. Nobody claimed it. By package number 3, I was convinced I was dealing with one of 3 things. Someone stalking me, someone trolling me, or my friends planning an overly complicated prank. Spoiler, it was none of those. Package 3 arrived the next week. Inside was a warm yellow scarf, the exact shade my grandmother knitted me every winter when I was a kid. The one I wore until it basically disintegrated. This one wasn't handmade, but it was identical. Same color, same texture, same everything. The note said, "Stay warm out there." This time I didn't even go inside right away. I just stood on my porch staring at the box like it was going to explain itself. Because seriously, how do you explain someone sending you objects from your life you barely remember yourself? At this point, I started thinking I had a glitch in the Matrix situation. Or maybe my mail was crossing timelines and I was receiving gifts from an alternate version of me who had their life more together. But here's the thing, the gifts never felt threatening. They were thoughtful, familiar, gentle, too gentle. I wanted answers, badly. So I called the number on the shipping label. It took some digging to even find a human being to talk to. I sat through the world's longest automated menu, the kind where you start yelling, "Representative," like that ever helps. Eventually, I reached a guy. His voice sounded half asleep, like he'd been dealing with problems since 6 a.m., and I was the annoying cherry on top. I explained everything, the boxes, the notes, the warehouse address. There was a long pause, long enough that I thought the call dropped. Then he said, "Oh, you must be one of the mix-ups." A mix-up? A mix-up? Good to know I'd been mentally preparing for either romance or true crime when the real explanation was about as glamorous as a paper jam. But he kept talking. Apparently, this warehouse handles fulfillment for dozens of small creators and independent shops. And recently, they'd been sorting a huge batch of orders for something called a nostalgia gift service. Subscribers give info about their past old hobbies, meaningful items, things they used to love, and a company sends them monthly surprise packages with curated gifts that match their memories. Kinda cute, kinda emotional, kinda something I would totally sign up for, if I wasn't so bad at remembering to cancel subscription. Except I wasn't a subscriber, but someone with a very similar name and address was. We're talking one different letter in the last name. Same street, same house number, just a different zip code. Their system messed up and routed their boxes to me, and the guy on the phone sounded genuinely embarrassed. But here's the twist. When I asked if he could tell me the person's real name, the actual customer, he said something I didn't expect. Oh, funny thing, they actually reached out too. Their packages never arrived, so we gave them your number. Wait, my number? He said yes, like it was the most normal thing ever. And before I could even process how many privacy laws that probably broke, he said, they said they might contact you. And that's when my phone buzzed, right there, mid-call, a message from an unknown number. Hi, I think you have my packages? I'm so sorry. I swear, my stomach did a backflip. I hung up with the warehouse guy and texted back. And that's when the story went from confusing to surprisingly heartwarming. The person messaging me, her name was Sarah. She lived about an hour away. She explained that she'd signed up for this nostalgia gift subscription during a rough patch in her life. She'd lost a close friend earlier that year, and the service was her way of reconnecting with things that used to make her happy. And then her gifts stopped arriving. She thought she screwed up the payment or something, but the warehouse eventually told her they'd been delivered, just not to her. She apologized like she had personally caused a solar eclipse. We talked for over an hour about the packages, about the mix-up, about life in general. She was funny, quick, and honestly just a really easy person to talk to. You know when someone's personality just clicks with yours instantly? That was her. Then she said something that made me pause. Those gifts, they're not random. They're things my friend and I used to share. I picked them for really specific reasons. It hit me how personal those items actually were, not just for me in some weird coincidence, but for her memories, for her healing. And I'd been opening them like some confused raccoon rummaging through mail. I offered to meet her halfway so I could give them back. I mean, they meant way more to her than they ever could to me. She agreed. We met at this little cafe off the highway. She walked in holding a box I recognized, the same kind used for the subscription. And when she saw me, she smiled but also looked embarrassed, like she wasn't sure if this was ridiculous or sweet. We sat, talked, and I handed her the 3 packages. She held them like fragile glass. But then something unexpected happened. She pushed one box back toward me. "You can keep one," she said. "You opened them." And honestly, the idea that someone else got a bit of comfort from something meant for me, I don't hate that. I kept the book, the childhood one. It felt right. She kept the other 2. We ended up staying at that cafe for nearly 3 hours, talking about everything except the packages. Movies, jobs, what it's like to accidentally stalk someone without meaning to. She joked that if this ended up in a movie, the warehouse guy better be played by someone dramatic, like Nicolas Cage. When we finally said goodbye, she left with her arms full of gifts that were finally where they belonged. And I walked out realizing the whole thing didn't feel like a mistake anymore. It felt like the universe had shoved 2 strangers into a strange little coincidence just to see what would happen. We still text sometimes. Nothing wild. Not some fairy tale romance. Just 2 people who connected over a mix-up and stayed in each other's lives because it felt natural. And every time I look at that old childhood book on my shelf, I remember how bizarre this whole situation started and how unexpectedly wholesome it turned out. If there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that not every strange event is a warning sign. Sometimes it's a door. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it opens to someone who makes your life just a bit warmer.